If you wonder why I have this jacket on, Colonel Wilcutt said I could be an astronaut for a day, but that about do it. So he looks a little better in his suit than I do, but thank you. This is a wonderful day for Paducah. If you have not seen the Challenger Learning Center, you are going to be amazed at what you're going to see. I fortunately got to see it about a month ago. I had really no concept of what was there. It will awe you. So you have something really to look forward to this afternoon. And we want to thank all of you for making an effort to be with us today for this celebration. And we thank all of you for your support of this venture. I would like to start this afternoon by asking all to rise and follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Flags to my right here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Would first like to introduce Jordan Lindsay. Jordan has recorded in Nashville as a backup singer for such notables as Kathy Lee Gifford, Dinah Ross, and Broadway star Michael Crawford. Jordan's most recent project was as a soloist on the soundtrack for the film Beyond the Gates. The initial work will be in documentary form to be shown on A&E Network. Jordan's choral honors include being selected to sing with the United States National Boy Choir. He has also been a member of the All-Kentucky Children's Chorus and the Paducah Symphony Orchestra's Children's Choir. Jordan is a 7th grader at Paducah Middle School. Would you please join me in welcoming Paducah's own Jordan Lindsay for God Bless America. Jordan, you're right here.
Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet
Jordan Lindsay, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very wonderful, Jordan. Thank you. Whew. The worst problem with that is you've got to follow it, Kay. Let me introduce you to Kay Travis. The consolidation of the new college district has brought many changes this last year, including a new executive director for Paducah Junior College. A former English high school teacher and guidance counselor, Kay Travis began her tenure at Paducah Junior College 5 years ago. Last year, she took the helm of Paducah Junior College, where she oversees many projects for PJC. Ladies and gentlemen, Kay Travis. Kay.
And you can be very glad I'm not going to sing to you after that. I would like to offer to each of you a special welcome today from the Paducah Junior College Board of Trustees. Today, we are here to celebrate a project that has come to fruition after 2.5 years of dreams, plans, and much hard work on the part of so many people. Many of you in this audience today have played major roles in making this dream a reality. It is my honor to introduce some of those people to you, some of the special guests that we have today. I would like to ask that when I call your name that you do stand, and we'll hold our applause until each group is introduced. Rather than call them by name, I would like to ask first of all that all the members of the Paducah Junior College Board of Trustees stand and be recognized. These ladies and gentlemen decided about 2.5 years ago to take on the project of bringing a Challenger Learning Center to Western Kentucky. It has been a long road, at times a difficult road, but they were always supportive and always knew that they were doing the right thing for the young people of our region, and I do applaud them for that. Also, if there are members today present who are on the newly formed West Kentucky College District Board of Directors, I would like for them to also stand and be recognized. Another special person that we have with us today is the immediate past president of Paducah Community College and executive director of Paducah Junior College, Dr. Lynn O'Hara. From the Challenger Center for Space Science Education in Alexandria, Virginia, I would like for you to welcome the CEO, Vance Ablott, and the regional directors, Pam Peterson and Linda Wall. Those of us who have been involved with this project cannot say enough about the way this building was constructed, from the architects to the contractors to the subcontractors to all of those who made this building a reality. It was a mostly pleasant experience, but it was on time, and they put up with those of us who thought we should move in maybe before they were totally ready. But we do thank them for their patience and their hard work. From A&K Construction, Mr. Wesley Wright and Jim Faziotto. The architects who designed this fantastic building from Sherman Carter Barnhart in Lexington, Tim Murphy, Gene Houghton, Brian Lanham, and our own Holly King. Thank you all. From CMTA, Mr. David Higgins. And a special thanks to the individual who acted as the PJC Construction Supervisor for the Board, Mr. Harry Sells. As most of you probably know, the Challenger Learning Center is located on the first floor of the building. The second floor of the building will house graduate and engineering programs for the University of Kentucky. I have not seen some of these gentlemen, but I understand if you are here, please stand. Mr. Rich Riedel, Dr. Keith Roush, and Dr. G.T. Lineberry. We also have the support today of some of our fellow Challenger Learning Center folks. From the Challenger Learning Center of Hardin County in Radcliffe, Kentucky, Mr. Lewis Priddy. And from the Salt Lake City Community College, Mr. Bill Laney. We also could not have done this without the help of many of our congressmen and senators. Senator Bob Leeper worked extremely hard to help us on the state level, and due to his efforts, we were able to deposit the first $150,000 into our fund. Senator Leeper, would you stand, please? And is Representative Frank Rash here? Thank you. Representative Rash has not only helped financially, but also he has been a large help to our center director in working on curriculum. When you came in today, I think you noticed a group of young people that we are very proud of, and we're thankful that they were here to help us today with the parking, with the organization. So I would like to offer a special thanks to the Paducah Tillman High School Navy Junior ROTC cadets. They're in the back. For those of you who have not been in the Challenger Learning Center, when you first go in today, if you will look both to your left and your right on the large brick walls, you will see some of the most beautiful artwork. That artwork was done by students in McCracken County and Paducah Independent Systems. And I would like to thank especially not only the students, but their teachers who put so many hours of hard work into that organization. From Paducah Tillman High School, Ruth Baggett. Paducah Middle School, Laura Sharp. Heath High School, Glenda Bittner. Lone Oak High School, Linda Harper. And Reedland High School, Lynn Warren. Thank you all so much. Not long ago, one of my daughters gave me a copy of a poem that was written by a young lady who was a student at Bowling Green High School in Bowling Green, Kentucky in January of 1986. In this poem, she expressed what the loss of the crew of Flight 51L meant to her. And I would like to share with you just the last 3 lines of that poem. Let's look up to the heavens and say our last goodbyes to 7 flying angels, to 7 precious friends. Their mission has not ended. It's just ready to begin. When I first read this, I was struck by how prophetic these words, written by a young student, turned out to be. We are gathered here today because our association with the Challenger Learning Center at Paducah Community College has made each of us a participant in this continuing mission. And I thank all of you for being here. It is now my honor to introduce to you a member of the PJC Board of Trustees, Mr. Bruce Brockenborough. Mr. Brockenborough earned his MBA from Vanderbilt and is currently the president and COO of Hannon Supply. In addition to his role on the PJC Board of Trustees, he has recently been appointed the interim chair of the newly formed West Kentucky College District Board of Directors. This board has been charged with the oversight of both Paducah Community College and West Kentucky Technical College. Please welcome Bruce Brockenborough.
Thank you, Kay. This is certainly a special day for the Paducah Junior College Board of Trustees, but it's also a very special year for the Paducah Junior College as we're celebrating our 70th anniversary. And over those 70 years, we've seen a lot of projects that the board has thought was worthwhile, and the community responded, with both financial and moral support and has seen those projects through. We always are appreciative of our community for being so supportive of Paducah Junior College, but today we're especially supportive of those of you who had the vision to see through the completion of the Challenging Learning Center. Paducah Junior College is committed to expanding educational opportunities in our area. In the past 70 years, we've done this mostly through community college education on this campus. But as the needs of our community change, so should the focus of Paducah Junior College. To this end, we now not only support Paducah Community College, but also the University of Kentucky College of Engineering at Paducah and the West Kentucky Technical College. The Challenger Learning Center is a perfect complement to these institutions. Imagine, if you will, the 5th or 6th grader who gets exposed to math or science at an early age, gets excited about engineering, and years later under the same roof can go to engineering school at both the baccalaureate and the graduate level. This ability to provide local talent with local opportunity will strengthen our community, and ultimately that is the purpose of Paducah Junior College. Now please join me in watching a brief video that further explains what the Challenger Center is and what it means to us. Thank you.
Mission Control, this is Space Station. We have confirmed sightings of students and teachers in your Challenger Learning Center. Please confirm all systems go, and we're on course for a new millennium of learning in your region.
Space Station, this is Mission Control at the Challenger Learning Center. Completion confirmed. All crew members are on site. Our charter school districts are on board, and superintendents, students, and teachers are set for a dynamic year of learning. All systems are go.
Every dream begins with a vision, and every journey with a first step. The Challenger Learning Center at Paducah Community College is a reality, thanks to many dedicated people in our community.
I vividly recall when I first heard about a Challenger Learning Center, and Paducah Community College was invited to host such a center here on our campus. Dr. Len O'Hara and the Board of Trustees immediately caught fire with the idea that we could bring more than 10,000 young people to our campus every year. In the beginning, the magnitude of the project was overwhelming, but as is so with all large projects, it took the bringing together of many different people to make this one successful. I particularly think we ought to recognize Congressman Ed Whitfield for his support with federal funding, Governor Paul Patton and our state legislators, particularly Senator Bob Leeper and Representative Frank Rash, who were most helpful. KCTCS and its president, Dr. McCall, who have been constantly supportive. The University of Kentucky, our building partner, who has been marvelous to work with. Many individuals and corporations who gave their financial support to this project, and most particularly to our charter district school superintendents, who have made a financial commitment on behalf of their students to support this project. It's amazing to me that at the time we open this center, all missions for the first year are totally booked. It struck us that such a project born out of the tragedy of the Space Shuttle Challenger accident would give us the opportunity to educate young people in science, math, and technology. This would not only be a memorial to keep the spirit of Flight 51L, the Teacher in Space mission, alive for children for generations to come, but it would create centers across our country and specifically on this campus. I recently saw a very meaningful quote that I think aptly describes what we are about here in this Challenger Learning Center. Vision without action is merely a dream. Action without vision just passes the time. Vision with action can change the world. That is what we are about here with this Challenger Learning Center. We have dreamed the dream, we have seen the vision, and now we've completed the action necessary to make this dream become reality. This Challenger Learning Center on Paducah Community College's campus will forever help educate our young people in science, math, and technology so they can leave and change the world around us.
I love these computers.
This school year, the Challenger Learning Center will train over 225 teachers and fly missions with over 10,000 children from western Kentucky and southern Illinois. This tremendous participation in the Learning Center programs is made possible by the support of our charter school systems.
Educators in our Commonwealth are facing an interesting dilemma. On the one hand, we're facing the increasing need for technology in our classrooms. On the other hand, we have an increasing need for improved reading and math skills on the part of all of our students. We're looking forward to this Challenger Center being a part of improving not only the knowledge about sciences, but the increasing improvement in reading and math. We think they can all fit together and make a very, very important contribution to education in our area of the state. For our region, one solution is a partnership with the Challenger Learning Center at Paducah Community College. You know, school districts all across western Kentucky and southern Illinois are committed to making our Learning Center a very, very strong success. The Challenger Learning Center are hands-on, mind-on experiences for 5th through 8th grade students all across our area. Weeks before the actual mission, teachers will come to the Learning Center for professional development, where they are given pre-mission activities that will help them prepare students for the actual mission. The curriculum imparts content information and process skills to students through experimental learning. These experiences generate understanding and learning by engaging students in simulated, authentic, meaningful, and illuminating reproductions of real-world experience. These processes and content areas are found uniformly in a host of national and state educational standards. Once students pass through the portals of our Challenger Learning Center, they encounter an interactive computerized simulator with an orbiting space station and a mission control room patterned after NASA's Johnson Space Center. Students rev up their imagination and become astronauts, engineers, and scientists.
Mission Control, this is the space station. We acknowledge. Thank you for your assistance. Over.
The Challenger Learning Center offered several exciting programs, such as Circle of Stars and Space Day, to help introduce the region to the educationally diverse programs that we will offer. Our ability to provide this programming was made possible by the generous corporate support that exists here in the region.
U.S. Bank has a history in providing charitable grants and corporate sponsorships to innovative and creative programs to improve the quality of life throughout our banking footprint. Space Day is an example of a program by the Challenger Learning Center that brought together several governmental and scholastic organizations such as NASA, Civil Air Patrol, Golden Pond Planetarium, and Schools to Careers to help over 450 children from across the region to celebrate the accomplishments of this space program. Here on the campus of Paducah Community College, students designed spacesuits, worked on many hands-on projects, and listened to the honorary chair of Space Day, Mrs. Grace Corrigan. Space Day was a wonderful experience for youth in our region, and U.S. Bank was proud to sponsor such a worthwhile program.
The Challenger Learning Center will continue to build partnerships throughout our region and in the Learning Center network to bring outstanding educational opportunities here. In addition to the mission scenario for 5th and 6th grade students, this next year will include Project Aries, a Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics program. Next spring, 7th and 8th grade students will fly an e-mission where they will use teamwork to track a hurricane and monitor volcanic activity. All this is done without the students ever leaving their classroom. School missions, summer camps, Girl Scout and Boy Scout missions, corporate missions, Project Aries, e-missions, and professional development opportunities. A variety of programs that truly make us a Challenger learning community.
Crew members in the PCC Theater, this is Mission Control. We thank you for coming to the completion of our dream. Fellow crew members are standing by in the Challenger Learning Center and eagerly await your arrival. Please continue with the grand opening festivities.
It is now my honor to be able to introduce Colonel Terry Wolcott, commissioned in the Marine Corps. You dance, Colonel? I don't. Let's try that over. It is my honor to be able to introduce Colonel Terry Wolcott, commissioned in the Marine Corps and earning his wings in 1978. Terry was also selected to attend the United States Naval Test Pilot School, where he earned the title of Distinguished Graduate. Joined NASA in 1990. Colonel Wolcott served as the pilot on STS-68 and STS-79, and as mission commander on STS-89 and STS-106. Terry's next mission is as crew commander on STS-116, which is scheduled to launch in 2003. A former high school math teacher and one of Kentucky's own, please welcome an American hero, Colonel Terry Wolcott. Colonel?
Thank you. Can you guys hear me? I hope. Like we were saying, I've been kind of busy in training, so it's really a pleasure for me to get out of the Houston summer and get it back up to our beloved state of Kentucky. I think it was about 98, 100 degrees when I left down there the other day with torrential rain. Not a good combination. So thank you for having me here. I was asked to talk about education and the importance of science and math in education. If you've got questions about my past missions or about the space program, I intend to hang around for the reception. I hope you do too. I'll be glad to answer all those questions then. Some background on me. I was born just a couple hours to the east of here in Russellville, Kentucky. I started school near there in a one-room schoolhouse. It had, there was first through the 8th grades in that one-room schoolhouse. It had a potbelly stove. The teacher showed up 30 minutes before school started in the winter and threw coal in the stove to heat up the building before the students got there. The 8th graders had to help the 1st graders, of which I was one of them. Since that time, I've flown 25 times the speed of sound. I've got to study the Earth's environment and global changes that are going on in that. I've got to visit the Russian space station Mir a couple of times, go to the ISS, help construct it, and I've worked on experiments in cancer research, looking for cures for hairy cell leukemia, breast cancer, osteoporosis, AIDS, diabetes, and a host of other life science experiments, which are basically painful experiments on our bodies, to get ready for hopefully eventual trip to Mars. So the difference between that young boy that started school in that one-room schoolhouse and the astronaut that's standing in front of you today is education. It's science and math education. I got that from Western Kentucky University, which is also just a couple hours from here, and that has opened up all those doors of opportunities that I quickly jumped through and seized the moment, and that's why I'm here today. The other thing that I'd like for you to know about me is that, as he mentioned, I taught high school for 2 years in Louisville, Kentucky. The first school I taught at was in a very wealthy district. It had an art building. It had a wing for sculpture, a wing for painting, various other things. It had a biology pond on its campus when the students in biology studied water pollution or the water cycle on the planet. They went out to the biology pond, they took samples of the water, they carried it back to the biology laboratory, and then in biology class they discussed what they saw under the microscope. The second school I taught at had none of those things. It had an art classroom with very few supplies. Its biology class consisted of textbooks, of course, with pictures of someone in a white coat taking a water sample. I guess what I'm here to tell you is that facilities do matter. And I think that the average student in the first school probably had a better science education than the best student in the second school I taught at. And what you've done with this Challenger Learning Facility is give this community a facility where kids can come and get hands-on science. And I'll tell you, that makes a difference. There is just no way, as I was saying, that without these kind of facilities, that you're going to excite kids into taking math and science when it gets tough. But if you give them a facility where they can envision themselves as successful science and engineers and explorers, then I think that'll stick with them and they'll carry it on into their future. Excuse me, and the rest of the things I'd like to do here is really say some thanks. And if you followed my career, you know I've traveled all around the state preaching math and science to people. And so when Congressman Whitfield asked me to come up here and talk to you, I jumped at the chance to come back and tell you that I believe in what you're doing, and I'd like to come back on another trip and visit your schools and preach to them and tell them the same thing, to seize the moment and get up here in this learning center when they can. And Congressman Whitfield, besides my thanks, the thing I'd like to do is say, what better thanks for 22 school districts than to promise to send all of their 5th and 6th grade students to the Challenger Learning Center. That is a credible thank you from the community for the work you've done. So as a Kentuckian and a parent and a former school teacher, I'd like to say thank you for providing our kids with this opportunity. And as a Marine colonel and an American citizen, I'd like to say thank you for emphasizing math and science, because it's nothing less than determining the future position of leadership of America in the world, and also our own future in technology. Thank you very much. Congressman Whitfield, would you please come up and let these people thank you.
Colonel Wilcutt, thank you very much, and I want to also thank all of you for being here with us today. Your presence shows quite clearly your commitment and dedication to a quality education system for this part of the state. I'm also delighted that we have so many school superintendents here today who are going to play such a vital role in attaining everything that we can from this center. Less than 2 years ago, a group of community leaders from Paducah came up to Washington to visit me. Dr. Lynn O'Hara was one of them, Joe Frampton was one, and there were 4 or 5 other people, and they were talking about the possibility of a Challenger Learning Center for Paducah. And the thing that impressed me so much about their visit was their enthusiasm, their dedication, and their commitment. And it demonstrated once again for me the unique team spirit in Paducah. Because when they came, they were determined that this center was going to be built. And we had some other members of the Appropriations Committee there, and we were able to appropriate $1.3 million to help build this center. And as I think back about it, I know Kay Travis had mentioned Bob Leeper, who went to the legislature and was able to obtain that first $150,000. But once the group from Paducah left my office, they had also invited me to go to Chattanooga to visit a center there. And I was not able to go with them, but I did go to Alexandria, where there is a center there. And I walked in by myself with one staff person, and they had a group of 5th and 6th graders there going through this simulated trip into outer space. And you and I know that if you walk into a classroom, despite the best teachers that we have, the most enthusiastic teachers that we have, sometimes 5th and 6th graders, when they start talking about math and science in the classroom, are not quite that excited about it. But when you walk into a Challenger Center and you see the enthusiasm, the excitement that they have about learning about space and science, it really does touch you. And just seeing the center that day really touched me and made me want to do everything that I could to make this a reality. And so as you think about all of the events that have occurred in America over the last year, the war in Afghanistan, September the 11th, the stock market, the recession, the Catholic Church problems, fires in the West, a drought, all those things, it is so inspiring to see something like this come into fruition that will help 5th and 6th graders learn about the practical application of math and science and teamwork as they go on these simulated trips into space and learn the necessity of working with their teammates to solve problems that come up unexpectedly. And that's an invaluable lesson that will be learned. So it's inspiring for that reason, but it's also inspiring in my view because of Dr. June Scobie Rogers, who was married to Commander Scobie of the Challenger. And she's the one that actually started this program around the country. She was inspired about the memory of those on board the Challenger, and she wanted to complete their mission and to leave a legacy of the importance of math and science as we move forward into the future. And I'm delighted that she's with us here today, and I just want to thank her. She's not the next speaker, and I know she will be speaking to you, but I'm so delighted that she's here. I know that you're going to find it exciting. When you take a tour of this center, I don't think you can really appreciate it until you've actually been through it. And when you think that over the next number of years, 5th and 6th graders from over 25 school districts in West Kentucky are going to have this unique experience that I think can go a long way in turning around an education system that's already good and making it even better in Western Kentucky. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Congressman, for taking your time to be with us, and we certainly appreciate everything you do for this area. Thank you very much. Once again, it's my pleasure and your delight to welcome once again Jordan Lindsay. Jordan?
In the smallest garden, reaching for the light, and there's a candle in the darkest corner, conquering the night. There is amazing strength in a willing hand. There are victories that you've never planned. There's a hero astronaut. All of us are common citizens, just like those who serve in the armed forces and those who fell on September the 11th. What's a hero? It's a common person called to uncommon valor. And guess what? There's a hero in everybody's heart. Go on and trust in yourself. You can ride the wind. You're gonna take your dreams where they've never been. There's a hero in everybody's heart. There's a hero in everybody's heart.
Jordan Lindsay, ladies and gentlemen. Unbelievable, son. Thank you so much. I tell you what, there's a real proud daddy standing back there. I want him to take a bow because he sings, Charlie, come on. You're not supposed to do this, but anybody who raised a young man like that gets some credit. I remind you, he's a 7th grader. That's pretty amazing. When the Challenger Learning Center project was in the planning stages, the PJC Board of Trustees met with the superintendents throughout this region. We asked them, if we build it, will you come? This meant making a financial commitment to the operation of the Learning Center. Once construction had begun, we asked again, only this time, we asked this group of fine folks to put their commitment in writing. Without hesitation, every district in the West Kentucky Education Cooperative, along with districts in Illinois, became charter districts. When someone new to our community enters the doors of our Learning Center, as you will this afternoon, you will find a very powerful message displayed. Hanging in the lobby of our Learning Center are banners from every one of our charter school districts. We truly are a Challenger learning community. Speaking on behalf of the charter school districts is the president of the West Kentucky Educational Cooperative and the superintendent of Ballard County, Mr. Steve Hoskins. Steve?
Thank you. On behalf of my fellow superintendents and the districts that we represent, charter districts, it's both exciting and a pleasure to be involved with the Challenger Learning Center. We do anticipate a great partnership. We're in this for selfish reasons. We want to help students and we want to improve scores in the areas that we're speaking of here today. We are charter districts and we are participating because we believe that education is the essence of learning, and that education is ultimately a student's very personal journey. Therefore, there's not any one ideal, single, and simple way to learn. And we see that the Challenger Center offers a myriad of programs, each as different in their methodologies and experiences as they are similar in their single goal, which is to inspire young children about math and science education. And as educators, we're always looking for ways to help meet national standards and state standards and benchmarks, constantly looking for ways to transform the way teachers teach and the way students learn. And we feel like the Learning Center delivers a method of instruction and a curriculum that is aligned and consistent with the Cara philosophy. The Challenger Center is recognized for its ability to engage students in the learning process and make science fun. This gives us another opportunity to equip teachers with the tools that they need to teach the sciences and mathematics and to apply technology in some very meaningful ways. We became involved because of our district's pursuit of science and math literacy, and we're pleased to have the opportunity to send our 5th grade and 6th grade students to experience the Learning Center and then to return to their home districts and extend that experience. Our perception here is that it's not just another field trip event for students, but rather it's an exceptional educational opportunity for students to learn and for students to be able to see themselves in successful roles as scientists and engineers and researchers and so on. So we sincerely believe that the future is being developed in today's classroom. And this grand opening celebration, it's a great way to kick off this inaugural year, and we look forward to being a part of it. With that being said, it's my pleasure to introduce our Commissioner of Education. Gene Wilhoit was selected as Kentucky's 3rd Commissioner of Education in September of 2000. He oversees the Kentucky Department of Education, which operates under an annual budget of $3.1 billion, most of all which is passed through the local school districts. The department provides assistance and resources to the state's 176 districts and some nearly 1,300 schools. He supervises approximately 800 employees in Frankfort and across the state of Kentucky. He's a native of Tennessee. He began his education career in Northmount Junior High School in Englewood, Ohio, where he was a social studies teacher. After his stint there and in other public schools, he moved on to the Indiana Department of Education as a program director. He also served as executive director to the National Association of State Boards of Education and special assistant to the United States Department of Education. He was chief state school officer for the Arkansas Department of Education before he came to Kentucky in 1997 to our Department of Education as Deputy Commissioner for the Bureau of Learning Support Services. He has a master's degree in teaching political science and economics from Indiana University in Bloomington, a bachelor's degree in history and economics from Georgetown College. Mr. Wilhoit also studied education administration at West Virginia College of Graduate Studies in Charleston. He is a member of the American Association of School Administrators, the Council of Chief State School Officers, and the Board of Directors for the Agency for Instructional Technology. He was chair of the Education Commission of the State's Advisory Commission from 1989 to 1991. He's a resident of Lawrenceburg in Anderson County. He and his wife, Rebecca, have 3 children. Commissioner, we welcome you to Paducah and to the PCC campus and to the Challenger Center here. It's not his first visit here. We thank you for helping us kick off this inaugural year for the Challenger Learning Center. Please join me in welcoming Commissioner Wilhoit.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to be back. It seems just a short time ago that we were here to talk about this as a dream, and today we're here to celebrate this grand opening of the 3rd Challenger Center for the state of Kentucky. And I'm happy to be a representative from the state to come to this community and say congratulations on this wonderful deed that you have accomplished. It's my pleasure also to be on the stage with my colleagues and members of the education community who have made the personal and community commitments to this learning center. With completion of this facility, we become one of only 5 states in the United States to have 3 or more Challenger Learning Centers. That is the states, and we're here for a celebration so we can boast. We join California, Florida, New York, Texas, in that very elite group of states. Notice something about those 4 other states. They are huge population states, and we in Kentucky are in that group. In my way of thinking, the ratio of centers to students in this state puts us number 1 in the country in terms of our accomplishments. This community support for the center is what made it possible. This is a wonderful gift to this community. It's a gift to the young people who are going to school today, but this gift will keep on giving. It will be here for the tri-state area for years to come. Think about the number of young people who will be able to experience this wonderful learning opportunity because of your commitment, and I commend you for wanting and putting in place this innovative education program. This center, and through this center, there are going to be trips to the moon, there are going to be trips to Mars, and to some distant comets. And it's only going to be a bus ride away for our students. As a former middle school teacher, I can't think of a more exciting way to pique the interest of 5th and 6th grade students. We know who they are, and we know their interest, we know their metabolism, and we know their interest. This is a perfect match to these young people. It is an exciting way to learn about science, mathematics, and technology. It's a wonderful opportunity for them to participate in the total curriculum. This may not have been the original design of this center, but this is a breakthrough in learning because children will be living their learning. It is possible to teach every one of the 7 content areas through a Challenger experience. They can learn reading, writing, mathematics. They can indulge in arts. They can learn vocational skills, in addition to the mathematics and science and technology initiatives that this is targeted to. It is very different than going to a single class and learning an isolated content area. They're forced in a very positive way to bring their learning together into one dynamic experience. To me, this is a symbol of education in the future. It's hands-on, it's minds-on, it's compliments about everything we're trying to achieve. I think all of you will agree that this area of science and mathematics education is, on one hand, the most critical area of learning for our children in the future. I think you would all agree also that it's an area that we need to do a lot more work in. In fact, we have in this area been fairly static in our recent years in terms of scientific learning. This should be a breakthrough support system for our young people. I also want to tell you that I have flown a mission. I was privileged to go to the first center in the eastern part of the state. And my mission was to find a new comet. My first mission, I didn't fly alone. I was guided by, and my teacher was, a young 6th grade student. He knew more than I did about where we were going and what we were about to do. He was also very confident because this was his second voyage. He helped me. We had to look at some scientific information. We had to have a certain sense of knowledge before we went on a mission. We had to gather information that prepared us for the flight. We had to analyze that information. We had to interpret what it meant. We had to consult with others before we took off. On that mission, we made observations. We made predictions. We followed those predictions. We followed the data as it came in through the flight to our point of success. And we made, during that whole process, a wonderful teaming network of individuals who were dependent on each other. In fact, during that mission, we had to communicate among ourselves in ways we hadn't before, and beyond that, we had to communicate with the ground crew who were guiding us in our mission. I'm happy to report that we did have a successful mission. It was successful because that young 6th grade person guided us through it. What a wonderful experience. I hope all children in this area have that kind of opportunity. It was truly amazing for me to participate. We all are working hard with our children. I've been facing teachers across the Commonwealth who tell me they're extremely frustrated because they're working harder and harder and yet not getting the kinds of results that they want to achieve. It really isn't an issue of working harder. It's an issue of working differently. And this is a way to reach children. This sort of learning helps us prepare our students for life, for the 8th grade, the 9th grade, for high school, and beyond. it will be something they will remember forever. These are realistic experiences. They have science and mathematics and technology embedded. They are truly a wonderful breakthrough. You're helping keep alive a dream of the Challenger crew who shared a common love for education. They sought to touch the future through education, as our first teacher in space was a member of that crew. That middle school teacher, Krista McAuliffe, became one of the members, and she was so optimistic about this voyage. I happened to be in Washington, D.C. at the time, and remember that she came and met with us as an education community and asked us to reach out to our different groups and talk to those children about this wonderful opportunity. So it was a privilege, but she never got that opportunity to hold those classes in space. The objective was to teach youngsters. And I have to salute you, Ms. Rogers, today for your continuing of that dream. They never knew that this would come true, but in fact, we are living that dream that was begun by that crew and by that middle school science teacher. Again, I thank you for whatever part you've taken in making this a reality. I appreciate you asking me on behalf of the state to be a part of the ceremonies, and I look forward to talking to the young people who will be a part of this program. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. It's always great to have an Indiana grad among our Big Blue fans here. So, welcome to Big Blue country. You have gone over to Big Blue now, haven't you, Commissioner? Okay. All right. The person that's been talked about all day is finally next, and I think we're all looking forward to meeting Dr. June Scobie Rogers. She has been an active and prominent leader in education throughout her professional life. In addition to being a classroom teacher, June has conducted research at the university level, served as a consultant to local, state, and federal education agencies, and become a nationally recognized advocate for the advancement of math and science education. Holding a PhD from Texas A&M and a master's from Chapman College, both in curriculum and instruction, June is personally proud of the fact that she has taught in every grade level from kindergarten through college. June's numerous presentations and workshops laid the foundation for her work as the founding chairman of Challenger Centers for Space Science Education beginning in 1986. This is a position she still holds. June's late husband, astronaut Dick Scobie, commanded the Space Shuttle Challenger 51L. The families of the Challenger astronauts founded Challenger Center in 1986 to continue the crew's educational mission. June is married to retired Army Lieutenant Colonel General, I just demoted him, Lieutenant General Don Rogers, and they reside in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. June Scobie Rogers. Doctor?
Wow, you've done it. It is such an honor to be here with you all, with so many distinguished people, astronauts and commissioners and congressmen and philanthropists, leaders in education and business and government, leaders from our Washington area headquarters office, Vance Ablett. It's truly an honor to be here with you and to be recognized in such a way. Several of you came to Chattanooga to visit a Challenger Learning Center there to ask the question, did you want one for your community? And I spoke to the group and challenged you. You accepted the challenge and decided to build the greatest of all the learning centers right here in Paducah. And you accomplished that, I have to tell you. It's a fantastic facility. And you're going to offer so many opportunities to the youngsters. I challenged them with what I call the ABCs. It's what it takes to build a Challenger Center. And I'll go over that with you to get the rest of you to join me in saluting this team that brought the Challenger Center to Paducah. First of all, I said that
and the A is for the ability to bring together a team. And certainly the team is well represented here. You collaborated well, you've partnered, you've built a Challenger Learning Center on this campus that gave it a wonderful home. And I'm especially pleased about that because Dick Scobie and I and our children all had a fresh start in college at a community college. And now our first grandson has gone away to a community college, so they're in our hearts. And you lay the groundwork for great education, and to thrill these youngsters to be on a college campus and for them to see the potential of what education can do for them is a thrill. So the ability to bring together the team, and you certainly have done that. You all want to make a difference. You are pioneers yourself. You are rekindling a pioneer spirit to explore and discover and create and build. And for the contractors and architects, you've created a fantastic representation, and we'll proudly show this picture on our headquarters wall to show other communities what a community can do when you come together with heart and soul to do something great. The B is for belief in a mission. Mission is extremely important to me in life, as each of you, as our song, everyone has a hero in their heart, and a mission is important to us all. When Dick Scobie and I were married quite young and really grew up together, went to college together, and he eventually became a pilot and a test pilot and an astronaut. And his first mission was to fly 41C, which was to repair a SolarMax, a satellite in space. When they returned from their successful mission, he asked if I would run away with him to our favorite restaurant before he spoke to reporters and neighbors and everyone who wanted to see him, to tell me about the joy of space flight. And as we sat there at the dinner table, he took out a camera to take a picture of us, as we had done different times. And after he took the photograph, he dropped the camera. He thought he was still in weightless zero gravity, and he thought he could set the camera out. He kept tucking his napkin under his dinner plate. And believe me, when he talked about spaceflight that night, the stars in his eyes twinkled greater than the stars in the sky. And after his joy, expressing how much fun it had been and the reward of flying in space, I said, but didn't it make you mad that President Reagan mentioned everybody's name on that space flight on national television, but he forgot to say your name, the pilot of the mission? And he said, no, June, what was important was the mission. We got the job done. So you can imagine when 51L was launched, the excitement that we shared with the nation for a teacher who was going to fly and bring lessons to children across the country and around the world. And we lost more than astronauts that day. We lost our loved ones, husbands and a wife, and mothers and fathers, and sons and daughters. And we lost what we thought was the mission. But people in our own community, all the families of that crew, leaders in the nation joined us to help us to continue that mission. And one of those great leaders was then President Reagan, who had said they slipped the surly bonds, put out their hands, and touched the face of God. And we knew that we had God helping us. And Vice President Bush gave us his home phone number. He and Senator Jake Garn and Senator John Glenn came to the crew quarters where all the families had gathered in Florida, and Vice President Bush and Barbara, they slipped us their home phone number and said, call when you can. So months later, when we had the idea of the Challenger Center, we called, and he wasn't there at the time, but said he would return the call, and he did. My son, a strapping teenager, answered the phone. He came to the back of the house where I was and said, "Mom, would the Vice President of the United States be calling you?" I said, it could be, Rich. He said, buried his head and said, well, he's on the phone now. So we talked. He said, "Come to Washington, we want to help you." And he finished the conversation with, "And that's quite a character for a son you have." So I asked Rich what he meant, and he said, "Honestly, Mom, I didn't answer the phone Scobie's Bar and Grill." But when the strange man wanted to know who you were, and how he could help, and then my son wanted to know who he was, and he answered that he was the vice president. My son said, "Well, the vice president of what?" So the vice president eventually became president, and he has continued to help and join us in our efforts, and Barbara, and now his son. I'll tell you a personal, many of you know the Bushes, but I just had dinner recently with Barbara, and I said, "It's so confusing to us, George this and George that. How did you keep them straight when they were growing up? How did you call them in for dinner? Did you say, 'George and George, come to dinner'?" And she said, "Oh, no, he was Georgie." She said she tried to call him that, and he said, "Mother, you may call me Mr. President, or you may call me son, but you can't call me Georgie anymore." So they've been a wonderful family to help us and lead the way in these different efforts. But the real story is truly not about this tragedy. The real story is about their mission to inspire, to explore, and to learn. And that's what you've brought about here in continuing this mission. The mission you join this learning center is a network of 44, soon to be 50 learning centers. They reach from California across to Florida and around the world to England. They reach from Washington down to Texas and the Rio Grande Valley, and north to Alaska and out to Hawaii, and right here in the heartland in Paducah, in this central area of our nation. And it's a tremendous network of learning centers. Annually, we bring all the directors together, and believe me, Vance Ablett will join in saying the headquarters office learns from each of these centers, because as we grow, we can only become better because we become smarter each time. The C that in the ABCs of building a Challenger Center is the commitment to a community and your youth, and you certainly have done that. And in each of the presentations and speeches today, I hear from your hearts and your souls the commitment, and certainly to celebrate the joy of bringing this opportunity and the completion of this activity, and looking to the future, as Krista, our beloved school teacher, said. We teach, we touch the future. And I know we celebrate along with Commander Scobie and Pilot Smith and Mission Specialist Onizuka and Resnick and Jarvis and McNair, and Krista, who had a dream to see classroom youngsters become thrilled about the exploration of space. And you continue that mission, and you continue it beautifully in this facility. Sometimes I add a D, a dynamo, and you all know and love Sherry Brock. We first met her in Tucson when we were building a Challenger Center there. She was directing, and we were so impressed with her that we hired her to be a regional director for us, along with Pam and now Linda. And you all saw that she was a star and brought her here to Paducah, and we're so proud of her opportunity to shine with you all and share with you in this joy. It's our loss for the region, but your gain in this area. And she's tremendous. We dedicate the center to the teachers who bring the lessons to the youngsters as we create this launch pad for learning here at Paducah Community College. I'm really on the sideline today cheering you with your new opportunity and adventure here at the Challenger Learning Center of Paducah. Congratulations, and God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Would have to say for all of us here, it's a privilege and honor to have you in our midst. Thank you very much, and hope you come back to see us often. I'm maybe not supposed to do this, but she mentioned Sherry Brock, and I've been working with her, and as all the board has, and most people in Paducah. She's standing back here. Let's bring her out and let her say hello. Sherry? She ran off. She was there. She knew that was coming, I guess, but we'll get to her. Dr. Barbara Vesey is the newly appointed CEO of the West Kentucky College District. Prior to becoming our new CEO, Barbara was the Dean of Academic Affairs for Paducah Community College. Among her achievements as Dean include creation of the first technical studies program in the state, developing new academic programs in occupational therapy assistance and paramedicine. Dr. Vesey has been instrumental in the creation of the P16 Council for our district, a program that's responsible for bringing together higher education, K-12, and business. Barbara holds a PhD in higher education and academic administration from SIU and a Master's of Science in Nursing from Murray State. Please welcome Dr. Barbara Vesey. Barbara.
Wow. As Dr. Rogers said, what another hallmark day for our community. Once again, this community and this college have partnered together to bring another educational experience to our region that does not exist in most other communities. So I am so very proud of us. I join the other speakers in praise of the Challenger Center and what it will do for the advancement of science and math for our young people. But today I am thinking about the Challenger Learning Center and the University of Kentucky and the partnership that we have on this community college. It is nothing short of a success story. Collaboration, visionary, those are the words that I use for our community. And this collaboration will only grow as we expand the Challenger Learning Center with distance learning programs into the high school, and we take corporate missions into space. We have a beautiful facility. It is going to be magnificent, but we also are going to have a remarkable staff working in the Challenger Learning Center. And it is my honor to be able to introduce them to you. Now, Sherry Brock has been introduced and much has been said, but I want to add to that and say that Sherry has been invaluable as we have built the center and as we will now begin our missions. Sherry, please come forward and take those applauses that we've been trying to give. John Williams. John, please walk up this way as well and let everyone see you. John is the flight director, and he comes to us from Marshall County High School, where he was a technology instructor. John Williams. Krista Byer. Krista is the associate flight director, and her enthusiasm is so contagious when she is with those children. So here is Krista. And Sarah Gordon, administrative assistant, and I have only to say about Sarah that she is a PCC graduate. We look forward to sharing your work in making this a tremendous success. I thank our honored guests, both on stage and in the audience. And I would also like to again recognize Dr. Lynn O'Hara, our past president, for his dedication and his commitment. And to those other individuals who were in the room the day that Sherry Brock came to us and this dream was born. I would also like to express another sincere thank you to Dr. June Scobie Rogers. I read your book, Silver Linings, and I would like to quote from a letter written to you by Senator Garn. All of us, I suppose, at one point or another in our lives, wonder what we might be able to accomplish that would truly serve as a legacy. What single contribution we could make that helps others for which we'd like to be remembered. Most people probably never fully find the answer to that question, or they don't have the opportunity to see the results come to fruition. You are one who has been blessed with both the knowledge of your purpose and the opportunity to see it come to reality. Again, thank you. And Dr. Rogers will be in the Challenger Center signing her book, and I fully recommend it. Thank you again. This day was also sponsored by Bechtel Jacobs, and I would like to have you, Gordon Dover, please stand, and you all join me in thanking Bechtel Jacobs. They are always in partnership with education. Colonel Wilcutt will also be in the Challenger Learning Center signing his NASA crew photo, and please avail yourself of that opportunity. Thank each of you for joining in our celebration. It is a beautiful center. Please come see it. Join us in our fun for the rest of the day. Please, you may exit this way. The reception will be under the tent on the grounds. Thank you all for coming.